What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I'm out here in the shop and I've got a little project I'm piddling on with the dozer here. I'm in the process of trying to build a tree spear out of scrap iron that I had, so it don't cost anything or almost anything, you know. Still got welding wire and gas and that sort of stuff, but all of this metal right here I had, and this is a design I come up with. And I don't know how common these things are, but I've seen a few of them on YouTube. One guy in particular had one. It seemed to work really well. And the idea is, if you try to shove a tree over with a dozer, your dozer blade only goes about a little over 2 foot off the ground, 2.5 foot, depending on how big the dozer is. And by extending this out here to this angle, when you raise your dozer blade up, it also comes up at an angle. And so I've got this right here on a 20-degree angle off of this frame right here. This is at 90 degrees, so this is 20 degrees up from that, so that makes it 110. And then whenever you raise the dozer blade all the way up, the dozer blade goes up at an arc, so you get an extra 20 degrees. So that puts this right here at a 40-degree angle when the dozer blade is all the way up. And so this right here will come on up here to about 6.5 foot. Depending on your length, obviously, the longer this is, the higher it'll be. But this is only 5 foot. This is a piece of I-beam that I had whenever I built my shop here. This is what was used as a door header up there. And I've had this piece laying around for 8 or 10 years. I had 2 of them. I think the other one I cut the center out of and just used it for plate. This one here has been out there kind of in the scrap pile. I figured I would use it for something one day, just been holding on to it and kicking it around out of the way. Anyway, finally decided I would use it for this. I wouldn't mind it being a little bit longer, just for a little extra height, but for no bigger than this dozer is, it's just a D3C. 5 foot sticking out here is probably really all that you really want to put on this dozer. And this right here is a hay spear frame that was on that Ford 5610 over there that I bought that was all messed up. Anyway, I kept this, been kicking it around out there for a couple of years since I had that tractor. And so stuck it up here, and what I got in mind to do is put me some brackets on here like you would hang a rake on. And I think no more, because the pushing force is going to be pushing right down into the bottom of the blade here where your pivot ball is at, down there on the bottom of the blade. That's where you want your force to go in. So there shouldn't be a whole lot of force on this up here. So I think I'm just going to make some brackets that'll weld right here. We got this square tubing behind here. This is 3/8 AR 400 that I had put on this dozer. And so I'm thinking just a couple brackets here, something here with a pin through to hold this up. This right here is just being held, just use this to hold this on here basically. This is just tack welded to the blade skin so that I could get all this set up here and get my angle right on everything and take a look at it and to get my measurements to what I wanted to do. This here is some 3x3/4 angle iron I had left over. I think I had about 10 or 11 foot left over from whenever I redid my dad's trailer 3 or 4 years ago. It's been just propped over in the corner over there for another use another day. And so I just cut 2 pieces 4 foot long. I just stuck this up here, kind of getting an idea. Ideally, you'd probably want some square tubing, and I would build this a little heavier if I was building it from new metal and everything. But with no bigger than this dozer is, I think we can make this work out of this scrap iron. And like I say, the idea with this is we're tripling our distance height wise to where you could push on a tree. So the dozer blade all the way up probably only goes to about, it's less than this is with it all the way down. I think it's about 2'4" or something. Something like that to the bottom of the cutting edge. So if you're pushing on a tree, you're pushing down here. So when you raise this up, it's going to be over 6 foot tall. So you're tripling your leverage on the tree. So just like if you're taking a lug nut loose with a breaker bar, if you triple your distance from where you're pushing on it at, you're tripling your leverage. And so you're making the dozer seem like it's 3 times bigger essentially by pushing up higher than if you're pushing down here. So we should get 3 times the pushing power. Basically, as far as getting a tree uprooted is what I'm saying. The dozer is still going to push the same, but because the leverage point is higher, we're getting 3 times the force on the root ball, I guess is the best way I should put that, where it makes sense. The dozer is not pushing any harder, but where it's pushing at, because it's pushing up higher, is you're you're getting 3 times the force on the root ball to get the tree out of the ground. Same way when you raise a track hoe up with a boom and push up high. But anyway, I don't have a track hoe. I don't have the money to buy a track hoe. And so anyway, I figured I could throw this together out of scrap and my spare time here, and this will be a useful tool for taking down some trees and stuff, and I wouldn't have any money in it. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. I got to get this stuck up here where I want it. I just got it up here looking at it right now, and I got to leave room here so I can put my brackets on each side, and I should be able to just weld that there somewhere. And then on the end out here, I'm going to cut this off at a 40-degree angle, because again, when you raise the boom up or the dozer blade up, we got this end at a 20-degree angle, but you get 20-degree angle on your dozer blade that it raises up because it raises up at an arc. So that leaves this at a 40-degree angle. So I'm going to cut this off at a 40-degree angle here, and then we're going to weld a plate. I should have some plate over there. Hopefully I got something to make a piece out of this. I think I do. Big enough to go across here and weld some spikes on it. And the spikes will stick in the tree, and that way the tree won't be able to roll. It'll dig into the tree, and you can lift on your blade, and you get some lifting force that way. When those spikes dig into the tree, you get lifting force on your blade, which helps plant the dozer in the ground, and it helps pull up on the tree as you're pushing forward also. And you can tilt your blade left or right and kind of control a little bit of the tree where you want it to go that way, because tilting your blade, this thing's obviously going to swing like this right here. So you get some control over the tree that you wouldn't have just pushing on a flat surface, a slick flat surface where it could slide off, if you see what I'm saying. So we're going to cut some points out of something or other, some plate over here, so that they'll dig in the tree. And hopefully we'll have a useful attachment here that I won't have any money in. Say, it may not be the prettiest thing built out of scrap. Probably be better if it was all built out of, say, 4-inch square tubing or something like that, but I don't have that. I got 3-inch square tubing, 3-inch angle, and a piece of 12-inch 19 pounds per foot I-beam is what this is. So as long as it works, that's all that matters. So let me figure out exactly where I want this here. We'll get it welded up, and I'm going to put one on the other side. We're going to get it welded up, and then I will have to put some kind of cross brace, I believe, across here. And then whatever I've got done right now is just tacked. Like, this is not welded or anything. There's just a tack weld right there to hold it so that I could raise this up and look at it and make sure this 20-degree angle. I wanted this beam here to be about 40 degrees when the dozer blade was all the way up, because if you come over 45 degrees, you know, and you go to pushing, it's going to fold back like this. So you want it to be less than that. And I figure by doing 40, even if you're driving the dozer up on a dirt pile, you'll still be less than that 45-degree angle. And you're pushing your force back down into the bottom of your blade. You don't want to push the force on the top of the blade, because you see how that's done. That's a lot less strength there than what it is at the bottom of the blade, because the way that blade is made, it's made for the most of your load to be pushed into the bottom of it. So that's what we're doing here with this angle. We're pushing that load into the bottom of it down there. And you know, if you're interested in building something like this, I guess you can build it how you want to. That's kind of what I'm doing here, just based off a couple YouTube videos I seen. Another guy, as I say, had built a couple, or had a couple built, and said they worked really well, and said in some cases they were actually faster than an excavator, because you could just shove the tree over. And you know, a dozer has quite a bit of pushing power. It's just the fact that you can't push very high on the tree. So if you can get up where you can push about 6 foot tall on the tree, you got some pushing power even in a small dozer like this. And if you have to take and dig around the outside edge of the stump, you can do that with the corner of your blades. Dig on one side, dig on the other, and then push it, you know, 6 foot high. These dozers like this put out close to 20,000 pounds, some of them more than 20,000 pounds of force on that tree. So if you put that kind of force on a tree at 6 foot high, 6 to 7 foot tall, high, you know, you take down a pretty good sized tree. All right, guys, I've cut this right here at 4 foot, and I got it 5 inches from the edge right there. And we're almost level. We're 1 degree off. And I just kind of eyeball with a tape measure on the 4 foot guess when I cut this. And I'm using my phone here as an angle finder, there's an app, or probably several apps that you can use here. Now, I'm using an app called Angle Meter, and you just turn your phone that way and lay it up there. I'm at 1 degree. I'm 1 degree off. That's going to be good enough for who it's for. We're 90 degrees right here, up and down, and like I say, this right here is 20 degrees right there, 20, 21, somewhere in there. And you gain 20 degrees when you raise it up, so this will be 40, 41 degrees angle when the dozer blade's all the way up. And so that puts this coming pretty well in line, tying into it right there. Didn't have to cut an angle or anything on the end of it. I should be able to weld that good enough that it ought to hold. So I'm gonna fire the machine up over there and get a tack on it before that moves. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side over there. And then we'll pretty well have the structure of it there, other than I'll have to put a cross piece. That way if you bump into a tree here, this don't just fold in, because you know that's gonna happen. So we want to brace in between the two there to tie that together. And I don't know if we'll need a brace anywhere else or not. We'll take a look at it and see what I think after I get that tacked in there. All right, guys, well, this is where we're at right now. That's all I'm gonna do for tonight or today, whatever it is. I cut another piece right here, welded across this way, cut 2 little short pieces of scrap that I had over there, put right there. As I say, that's probably not how I would have done that. If I was building this with new metal, I'd have did something a little different, a little better probably. But for scrap iron, that's what I got to work with, is this angle. I cut this right here off at 40 degrees so that we can weld a plate here on it with some teeth. And so that's where we're at. Obviously I'm not done welding on it, or some of it I can't even get to without taking the thing off, turn it upside down, or I might could just raise the dozer blade up and get on a stool or something and be able to get to the bottom side of up under here and whatnot. But I'm gonna start the dozer up and raise this blade all the way up just to show you guys what it looks like. That's what it looks like with the blade raised all the way up, and you can see how tall that is in reference to that door over there. I'm gonna put a tape measure on it here so you guys can get an idea. On the ground down there, about 78 inches right there to the center. That's 6'6", and we'll probably be a couple inches higher than that time we come out here with our spikes. We may be up about 80 inches. So that'll give us a lot more pushing leverage right there. Check our angle on it real quick with my phone. .41 degrees. Yeah, you could go up a little more, but you wouldn't want to get over about 45. I feel 41's a little safer. Give you a shot sitting on the seat of the dozer. See it up there? So as you're pushing on the tree, you got some angle swing out there on the tree. If you see the tree start going one way, you tilt that blade and you make the tree go that way as you're pushing on it. I think that'll work pretty well. You give yourself a little bit of leeway on the blade right there when you touch the tree, and then start pushing and pick up as you start forward, and over the tree should go. But we got a good bit more work to do to that thing. Like I say, it's just tacked up there on those 2 pieces of angle right there. They're stuck up there. We still got to make mounts and everything for it so we can pin it on, because these pieces of angle right here just tacked on the top side and tacked right there. So we still got to build our mounts and everything so we'll be able to pin this thing on. And the other ones, these that I've seen, was attached, built on the root rake, and that way you can put the root rake on, because the root rake actually sets on the ground. I don't have a root rake. I'm not sure that I need a root rake, and I'm not going to buy or build a root rake. So I just want to build this out of scrap iron, and so I will most likely have to just take my tractor over there and pick this thing up off the ground whenever I you know, get ready to put it on or whatever, instead of being able to have it already on a root rake and leaned up against a tree or something that I could, you know, walk the dozer up to and pin it like you normally would. So that'll be a little bit of aggravation, but I think this thing will work just like that. And for not having, you know, but a few dollars in welding wire, welding gas, that sort of stuff in it, I think it will get the job done to do what I want to do. All right, guys, we're ahead the next day and working on the tree spear project. This here is 5/8 plate. All that's 5/8. That is going to be the end plate to cap the end of it right there where you push against the tree. And then this is going to be the spikes that will weld to that end plate and dig into the tree when you start pushing on it. I've run out of metal on 5/8. This is all I've got left right here. And I'm trying to figure out the best way to use what little plate that I have to make it where it attaches to the dozer. And I'm not going to be able to do it the way I would like to do it. I would like to do it like you would do a root rake, where you got two pieces of pretty heavy plate like 5/8 on your dozer, one here and one here, and then one piece of 5/8 or 1 inch coming up in the center with a pin going through that comes up off of your rake. I'm not going to be able to do it that way because this is all the 5/8 plate that I have. And I thought about putting this on the spear point, but if I put this on the spear, there's not enough surface area here. I would have to weld it the 3-inch way, so I would only have 3 inches of weld. I actually drew it out on the opposite side if I turn it over. This is the second time I've drawn it out, and I drew it out to fit the dozer this side. If I put this on the dozer side, I got 5 inches of weld, a little over 5 inches of weld this way. So that's going to be significantly stronger that way because you don't have the leverage out here. It's still a 3x5 either way, but it would have to be turned lengthwise to weld on the top of the spear over there, where I can weld it on the dozer right here, and it only sticks out 3 inches. So that's going to be stronger, and then I'll use 3/8 on the spear over here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. See, I've got a good surface right here. This is 3/8 AR400 right here, and it's backed with this 2 or 2.5 inch quarter wall square tubing, whatever that is. So that's a pretty solid mount. So I can take that 5/8 and just put one piece of it right here. And I got a 5-inch weld right here, wherever I decide to put it, whether I put it on top of this weld or beside it or over here, whatever I do. I got 5 inches of surface area here to weld, and it only comes out 3 inches. And I put a hole in it right here, and then off of here, I'll come up with some kind of 3/8 in 2 different pieces, one here and one here maybe, that will slip over the sides and then put a pin in. Like I say, if I do it the other way, where I had 2 pieces on here, the thinner metal would likely get bent. If I use 3/8 on here, and then the 5/8 piece on here would just have a 3-inch weld across here, which would break off really easy. I've got more 3/8 over there than I do 5/8 because I only got that one little small piece of 5/8 left. So I've got enough 3/8 over there. If I need to, I can, you know, make a piece to come on down here and get some more weld surface area and come up, and then I can cut out a notch in the bracket and make the bracket actually wider and come out over here. Or if I want to tie it into this piece of angle here, however I decide to do it here, I got more options doing it that way. And then these here will just stick out like a tow hook, and I can be able to put a clevis in it if I wanted to put a clevis in there like you would on a 4-wheel drive truck on a winch bumper. It'd just be a 5/8 rounded piece out here with a pinhole in it, and I could put a big shackle in it to hook a chain to if I wanted to do that, or if I want to pin this. And if I ever do get a rake for this thing, all I have to do is cut that back off and refabricate the brackets. But that's not in the plans right now. I just want to get this thing here where it'll work and use the material I got to do it with. So that's what I'm working on now. I have to get that plate welded up. As I say, it's going to go on the end here, that big plate that I showed you, and the spikes where to drive in the tree, and then get the attachment point down here, and then finish up the welding and stuff, and that thing will be pretty well done. All right, guys, so I've got the mag drill set up right there, and I guess I'm going to do these as 1-inch holes. I would prefer probably an 1.25 inch pin, but I only have 1 1/4 inch pin. I've got it for something else to use as a drawbar pin. So I've got several of these 1-inch pins. I've got 3 or 4 of them, so I can sacrifice 2 of those, and that way I won't have to go to town and buy pins. And I think a 1-inch pin will be fine for this. I really think that the way I'm going to do it, I think a 1-inch pin is probably stronger than the bracket that's going to be mounted here. So I think the bracket will bend or rip off or something before the pin would. Not sure about that, but I'm going to try to use, like I say, scrap to do this. I've got 2 pins in stock, not going to cost me anything, so I'm going to drill the holes for 1-inch pins, and that's what I'm going to use. Trying not to put too much cutting fluid on it because it messes up my mark that I had where I got to cut the plate out. Just trying not to do that, but I think I'm going to have to remark it anyway so I can see where to cut the radius at with a torch. But I'll go ahead and get the holes done before I cut the brackets, because if I don't, the brackets will be too small for the mag drill to mount on. It's already borderline here anyways. Alright guys, so I'm working on my teeth here, my triangle pieces, and basically I cut these based off of what metal I had left. I made them 5 inches wide at the bottom, and the piece of the metal I had cut was like 6 1/4 this way, so they're a little longer this way than they are width-wise down here. I don't know how good or how bad this is going to work or whatever. They may be too long, they may bend, I'm not sure. I'm going to get them tacked on this plate, and I know if I start trying to weld these on this plate right here, it's going to bow this 5/8 plate. It'll bow it and make it curl up. So I'm probably going to have to tack these and then get them tacked over there onto the end of the tree spear, get the plate tacked on there and weld that first, and then come back and weld this is what I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to do, because I know if I go to putting that much heat into this plate, running beads on it, that this plate's going to curl up, which I don't know, being as how a tree is round, that would be a bad thing if this did have a bow in it, but it'd probably look a little goofy. So anyway, I'm just going to start this back from this corner right here. That way I got room to get a bead started on there. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then space the other ones in the middle here. The other three, however they come out, whatever their spacing is, to where they look uniform. This still looks a little jagged here. I'll probably touch that up a little more with the flap disc. I just got tired of grinding on it, and it's hard to hold that thing the way it is with no clamp on it, and it gets hot in your hand. So I got them cleaned up enough. I'm gonna get them tacked on here, and then I may go back with a flat disc and make that look a little better. I don't like it the way it looks. I need to buy me a plasma cutter at some point. I don't like that jagged looking stuff, but it doesn't really affect the functionality. This thing's built out of scrap iron, so it's not the end of the world, but I really don't like the way that looks. So I'll probably, after I get it welded on there, I'll probably take the grinder with a new flat disc and make that look a little bit better. But for right now, we'll get it tacked on there. All right, guys, I've got the teeth tacked on there. They're roughly about 2.5 inches apart, I believe. 2.5. Yeah, 2.5. Somewhere in there. So we'll go ahead and get this plate and tack it onto the end of the boom or tree spear. That way when I weld this, it don't warp. All right, guys, I got it tacked up there, kind of what I want it. I'll be able to run a bead down here and there. It's off just a touch to the left, maybe a 16th. Other than that, it fits up there pretty good. I ought to be able to weld that gap up with no problem. All I got to do now is get to welding. All right, guys, this is kind of what it's going to look like. I got a little bit more welding to do. I'm going to have to pull it off of these pins here. These are the brackets I made. I got to take it loose so I can get down inside there and try to weld on the inside and see what other places I missed. But that's kind of what it's going to look like right there. Got a little cleanup work to do. Got to cut these supports off that I had holding this. Hopefully this thing won't be too hard to attach. Maybe I can pull it up with a come along or something off of this bar or that bar, and slide it up the blade off of this and be able to pin it. I've got it where it's pretty well touching the blade here, so all the force should be going up against the blade without being very much force on these pins. And even when you turn the blade to try to tilt a tree, I think that because this thing is wide as it is, hopefully it won't be a whole lot of pressure on those pins. Like I say, if I'd had a little bit more metal or thicker metal, I'd have done that just a little bit different, but that's what I had to work with, so that's what we're gonna roll with. I'm gonna raise this thing up, and we're gonna get a measurement of how tall this is right here to the tip of these teeth. We are 80.5 inches. So just shy of 7 foot. 7 foot's 84 inches. So I think that thing will work. And you can see the angle I got on it, the points right here are straight. And I chose to make these like this where the point was at the top, give a little more height. And that should stick right in a tree. and push on it straight right there, and drive that force back down into the bottom of that blade, at least hopefully. And I think I got these corners here on these brackets rounded enough so that you get something up under that this will swing up. Well, I believe that's going to be a wrap for tonight. I'm tired of messing with it. It's like 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning going on it. So, yeah, I think that's about enough for tonight. I'll take the thing loose and finish welding on it next time I get a chance to work on it. Figure out what else I might want to do. I don't really like the way this looks here. I may do something with this, cut it off or put something across there. I'm not sure. I'll think on it. Something else that might be useful, I might put like a place to tie a chain up here or something. I could see where that would be useful if you wanted to pick up something, that you could tie a chain there, even though really didn't have that in mind when I designed them mounts, because these where this mounts at right here, I could have did that a little different. I probably should have did that a little different, but I wanted to have enough room here so that I could go around with my weld and all that. So anyway, that pin ain't quite lined up. These here didn't come out exactly right. I'm going to when I take it off, I'll fix this a little bit. I'll take a Dremel and or die grinder and make that hole a little better, where that pin will fit in there a little bit better. It got a little crooked on me. I cut this stuff with a torch. I need a plasma cutter. It's hard to get brackets. You can do it with a torch if you spend enough time grinding on it, but it's hard to get them exactly precise. A lot of times, and everything get lined up exactly like you want it without spending just way too much time in it. And so anyway, I'll mess with that a little bit later. But if I go to picking up, I think pushing it'll be okay, pushing in on this, because as I say, it's all the way up against here anyway. It's up against the blade, so there's not going to be much force on this. But if I do try to pick up something, then there's going to be force on this pulling out, and so that probably could have been done a little better. But anyway, I'm not totally sure I'm going to do that, but it would be a good idea, I think, if I figure out where I could put me a pad eye up under there so I can hang a shackle on it and have a place to tie a chain. Because how this thing picks up, if you need to pick up something, put it on the trailer with it, you probably could. I think you got about 4 foot of lift there, pretty close to it. So I think you'd be able to, if you got all the slack out of the chain, be able to pick up something, set it on the trailer, or remove something off the trailer if you had to. All right, guys, so it's been a few days and just now making it back out here. I think where I left off, I was talking about this right here, how I don't like the way it looks. Hindsight's 2020. What I should have did was cut this off at an angle and moved it down, and that would have given me more surface area to weld to. Looked better, but I would have had to cut an angle on both ends, and that's the reason I did it this way, because it was easier. As I say, this being built out of scrap stuff, I would do it probably totally different. If I was building out a new material, it wouldn't be all this different types of material. It'd probably be all square tubing. But anyway, since that is come and gone, I'm not going to cut this off and redo that. But that's what I should have did, was move this down. I'd had to cut an angle on that end to do it, to make everything line up. But I think I'm going to trim this off here and figure out, I may have to take a piece of this that I cut off and fill the gap up, and I'll be able to get a little weld right there, make it look a little better, I think. And I'm going to go around and finish up what other welding I got to do on this, I believe. And I had a job in mind when I started on this that I might would do, but I think that deal's kind of fell through already, but it's no big deal. I looked at a couple videos on these things about a year or so ago, and I was thinking about building one of these, and I just never done it. But I think it'll be a handy tool to have. I didn't want to spend money to go and buy new material in order to be able to put this together. So just doing it out of the stuff that I had here, and I won't have all that much in it, mostly time and, you know, welding wire and that sort of stuff. So it'll be useful, and I think we'll get some use out of it one of these days. All right, guys, I like that a little better. It looks a lot better anyway. I still think it would have been a lot better if I'd have moved it down, which even if I moved it down, I couldn't have moved it down a whole lot. Inch and something, inch and a half, which I don't know. That's about 2.5 there, so I still couldn't have quite got that covered up. But anyway, that right there will work. Should be stronger, looks better. Guess now I just need to finish the welding up. I was thinking about putting a pad eye on it, as I say, to hang a shackle on the end if I need to pick up something, but I may skip that step. I may just, if I need to do that, I don't think that'll be something I'll be doing very often, but if I do, I could probably just hook a chain around this right here. That's plenty strong enough. You got 2 braces here. Let the chain come over here and just drop over the end across the side of one of these teeth right here, and that'll keep it from sliding off side to side. So I don't really see, you know, that ain't ideal for a chain to go over a sharp point like that, but at the same time, I don't really see taking the time to put a pad eye on here that's probably going to get bent up if I put it up under bottom to hang a shackle in and all that. It'd probably get messed up anyway. So just because that'd be something to rarely use it for, probably just pick something up, I think you just drop a chain across here and hook it onto that and do what you got to do and call it a day. All right, guys, I've got the thing pretty well welded out, I think. Maybe I didn't miss no spots. I think it's good enough. It's going to work. I was in Tractor Supply a few months ago and walked past a can of paint, and I said, you know, I'll pick that up. That'll be handy for something. Ever seen a can of paint that big? I had no idea what I was going to use it for, and I think it was pretty expensive. I think it was 15 or 20 bucks. Anyway, I figured it would be handy for something or other, so I picked it up. So I guess we're going to try it out and see how it does on this here. See if it was a waste of money or what. Wow. That sucker's got a... Wow. That sucker will paint right there now. Man, look at that. I ain't never seen a can of spray paint like that. I'm going to have to be careful. I'm going to have overspray all over everything. That sucker's got a spray pattern on it now. It's a pretty cool tip. Anyway, I'm going to dab a little paint on this here, so I can use my other hand here and get this thing looking a little better. All right, guys, I got some paint sprayed on it, sprayed on the floor, sprayed on me, everything else. If you're looking for runs per inch, that big can of paint's definitely your ticket. There's no really feather in that nozzle. That thing is like all the paint, all at once, all in one spot kind of nozzle. When you're trying to paint something like this, maybe if you had a big flat surface or something like that dozer blade and you're trying to spray, you could get far enough away that, you know, it would work better. But trying to spray something like this, the fan width is so wide that you miss more than you spray on there if you get back very far. So you got to get up close, but then it just globs it all in one spot. It's a very high volume output nozzle. I've never seen a can of paint output that much paint. I can see where it'd be handy on certain things. Like I say, if you're painting a big flat surface like that, it usually would take a while, but that thing sprays like a spray gun or something. It's just all of it, all at once. But anyway, I'm gonna let this dry, take a break, and then we will see how hard it's gonna be to get that thing stuck back on there, I suppose. All right, guys, I'm trying to get this thing installed using just to come along. My GoPro had a error there and shut off in the middle of it. But I picked this out of my hand. I got to come along just holding it. The problem is it wants to slide down if I pick up the other side, I believe. My balancing point needs to be a little bit further back. Yeah, see, I'm too far forward here. So, if I had more weight on that end or my balancing point was further back, this might work. Get me another chain over here, I can make it work. At least I think I can anyway. take this chain here and wrap around this frame. Here, I should be able to hook it to the come along and then get the pick up as well. May have to hook that chain a little different than that to get it to work, but we'll see. Not going to work that way. Alright, let's try some different perspectives. Let's say you got a jack stand handy. So you carry a jack stand with you, can you do it that way? A jack stand or some cribbing or the side of a trailer or something like that. I'm pretty sure you can do it that way. That way, that'll support that when we get close. Then we can hook our come along in here like this. And I'm pretty sure that'll pull up right up to the bottom. Quite got what I need here. Alright, now let's try it. Tighten the tank. I didn't need more slack, I needed more tight. One at a time, baby. See if we can get anything lined up here. All right, let's say you're in the field. You got a crescent wrench like this with a line-up pin on the end of it, like you should have, because that comes in handy for changing hydraulic hoses and other stuff. Can you get it on? I think the trick is going to be you're going to have this down here where you can pick this end up against something to adjust the height. Like that, right there. Once you get that done, you can pretty easily get the pin in, I believe. side to go right in as well. Alright, both pins are in. Put the clips on. So, you got a little piece of chain, or any chain that you use to tie the machine down, which you'll have, come along, and some blocks of wood or side of the trailer you can put the dozer up against and lay the front of this on the side of the trailer or something like that, or a log, a tree stump, anything that'll hold this up to help you out. I believe that you can get this on there in the field without a second machine handy. So that's what I wanted to see. And our jack stand out of the way. All right, so there she is. I wish I had a tree or something to try it out on, but I don't. I think it'll work. I think it'll work pretty good. I guess we'll find out one of these days. Pretty decent for some old scrap iron anyway. I would have did it different, as I say, if I'd have had new material or whatever I wanted to work with, but wasn't the case. Just used what I had. So I don't have very much money in it. So for whatever reason, it doesn't work very well, which I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. But if it don't, I ain't really lost much but some time, because I don't have all that much in it. So anyway, I'll wrap the video up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.